Tell us a bit about Dolfema. I know you make like very, and I call them luxury because I really think they are, luxury head wraps.
Yes.
Why?
We associate beauty with what's on our heads,
Yes.
either the hair or an adornment that's on your head.
Yeah.
And for me, I came across head wraps in a time when I couldn't afford to do my hair.
The name of your company is Dolfema.
Yes.
Tell us a bit about that. That's very unique. Is that something so significant to you?
For me, I associate a head wrap with confidence.
Yes.
Right? And I associate it with a crown, because
Yes.
anything that goes on a woman's head is a crown.
Yes. What are you doing to equip yourself and to keep yourself sane?
Give yourself like the actual time to educate yourself. So like one thing that like I know that I'm dedicating myself like to is like reading. Listen, the wisdom of just 5 good books is like more than what you could have like accumulated if you just tried to figure things out yourself. So
Buy a book for like 500 and something rand,
listen,
and then look at the amount of money you then make from it. It's an investment.
because the most expensive thing
Yes.
is ignorance, like
Yes.
not knowing. The things you don't know are costing you so much.
Hello, Resonate community, and welcome to the best and the biggest sales and entrepreneurship podcast in the whole wide world. I'm your host, Michelle Expert, and as always, I bring you guys the most and the best and the biggest guests to have such important and lovely nuggets. Now, I sent our team on a little quest to find entrepreneurs who are doing really, really, really amazing things so that we can learn from them, we can talk to them, we can hear about everything that they do and their experiences. And today, I have a beautiful young lady who has basically been making so many waves on the TV, on radio. She's been doing a lot of interviews after she recently announced the launch of her new store for her company, Dolfema. I am joined by Tamia Mokoena. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to chat to you. I'm very excited to talk to you today.
Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. So it's a tradition. I get very chastised by our audience if we don't do this when we start. We have to do a fire round of questions to kind of get the idea of the person that we're talking to. So I'm going to ask you just a couple of questions and you cannot pass on any of them.
Okay.
Yeah? Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. So my first question for you is, if you could create a new holiday or celebration, what would it be and how would it be observed?
I guess I'd create a quiet day where everybody's no work, no phones. We just stay quiet.
Ah, that's
No
nice.
one's allowed to be on their phones.
Yeah.
No one's allowed to go anywhere to
Yeah.
do anything. Just like sit still and do nothing.
It's like International Shush Day.
Okay.
And like how we would observe it is that there would be no internet connection.
Yep.
It'll
They
just
shut
be like
down everything.
Yes, just keep
Yeah,
quiet.
exactly.
Oh, I'd love that. But
Right?
toddlers also can't come to that because then
I know, yeah. Someone
Yeah.
should also keep all the people.
it's like, damn, where would I take my toddler on a holiday like that? Hectic. Okay, cool. That's interesting. And then my second question is, what do you look forward to every single morning?
I guess like just like surrendering everything to God. I always try to spend like the first few minutes of my mornings just like sort of like in prayer and in silence, and that's when I'm just like, oh God, I don't know what I'm doing, but I trust that you can, you have control. So like I look forward to just giving everything to God every morning. My quiet time in the morning.
I love that. And I always say to people, like, we are Jesus people here. And like, it's always so beautiful when we encounter an entrepreneur who just follows the Lord in her journey. So I love that so much. Are you a breakfast person?
Not really. No,
Really?
I'm not. But like, yeah, I'm not really strict about it. Like,
Yeah.
if I'm hungry, I will eat.
Yes.
But then, like, not really.
Yeah.
Sometimes I eat mainly around like 11, 12.
Yes.
Sometimes afterwards, depending on how busy I am.
Yeah.
But
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, that's actually just like me. I don't do breakfast a lot. Okay, cool. Our third question actually is that if you could have dinner with any successful entrepreneur or business leader, past or present, who would it be and why?
Anybody.
Yeah, anybody.
That's a hard one.
Is there like more than one?
Yeah, there are
Okay.
quite a few.
Okay.
Right now, I would have dinner with Azine Zara. Her name is Azine.
Okay.
She's just like, She's amazing. She's not huge.
Yeah.
She's huge to me. I love her.
What does she do?
She's a YouTuber, and she has a podcast also. She does work for the Lord, and she's a writer. She's just someone who's really deeply rooted, and I feel like a conversation with her would really I'd come out of there, planted.
I love that. Yeah. I love that. Well, if she's watching and if she ever comes across this podcast,
please,
girl, get in touch with Tamia. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's so cool. So interesting when we get to kind of see what our guests like and the things that are so important to them. So thank you for kind of giving us that piece of you. But that whole thing about like a shush day, sign me up. Okay. I need it. Okay, cool. So I've been going through a lot of your profiles, just trying to see what you're about. And I am in love with the business that you have.
Really?
Yeah. Tell us a bit about Dolfema. I know you make like and I call them luxury because I really think they are luxury head wraps.
Yes.
Why?
Well, I think as for most women, especially African women, we associate beauty. In fact, first of all, we care a lot about beauty, right? And we associate beauty with what's on our heads, either the hair or an adornment that's on your head.
Yeah.
And for me, I came across head wraps in a time when I couldn't afford to do my hair. And as a black girl, you do your hair,
of course,
okay. And at the time, I couldn't afford to fix my hair all the time, so I discovered just coincidentally that actually I could still look so put together and look good. So I started wearing head wraps for myself, but obviously for some reason there wasn't a place where you could go buy a head wrap or at least one that was nice. Yeah.
We just took from whatever was there.
Exactly. So I would literally cut up just pieces of clothes and and I would wear them, and I got very good at it because I'm a stylish person.
Come on. We see it. You look very stylish.
Listen.
Yeah.
So I started sharing my style on Instagram, and a lot of people ask me, where do you buy head wraps? Where do you buy head wraps? So that sort of rang a bell, okay, actually, there are people who want this. There are people who actually really like this. And I realized that there was a gap in the market.
Yes.
And I knew from a very long time ago, I would not go to corporate to save my life. Corporate was just not for me. And I knew that I was going to be an entrepreneur. I made that decision very early on, and it was just a matter of what kind of business I wanted to start. So when I sort of realized that small gap in the market, I was actually that's going to be the first thing I try.
Yes.
And I did that, and here
we are. Oh, that's so awesome. I love that because there basically was a gap in the market, but from you initiating and doing what you wanted. So what were you doing that time? Or were you working? Were you studying?
I was studying. I was doing I was doing my final year in varsity. I was at Vids doing accounting. I was on the journey to become a chartered accountant.
Come on. CA's in the house.
Listen. So I was studying at the time, but I knew I need to make a plan. Something needs to happen.
It's I was not going to go that direction. I'm going to go this direction.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, cool. So people start buying and you set up this business. And I saw one of the posts you shared about how TikTok blew up your business. Tell us how that happened.
Well, okay. One thing that I do really well, right? I do my research.
Yeah.
Before I even conceptualized Dolfema, I had been watching so many YouTube videos and reading articles and tutorials and books on entrepreneurship, right? Okay. And one thing that I learned very early on is the importance of branding, right? And one thing I also learned was the power of social media.
Of course.
And what it can do, for small businesses. Yeah. And I knew that if I did it right, if I figured out a way to sort of make myself the face of the business, because people buy into other people.
100.
And so I used TikTok, especially because one thing about TikTok is that they love to see just normal people. TikTok doesn't like the fancy things. TikTok doesn't care if you look good or bougie. TikTok just loves authenticity. So I dialed in there the most, and my strategy was basically to become the girl with the dukes.
Love
and I did that very consistently, and I was very strategic and intentional about it, that like I want to show up so consistently and so, authentically, so much so that like you just don't forget this face, and you don't forget that it's all about head wraps.
I love, you know what I love from what you said is that there was a lot of intentionality.
Definitely.
There was a lot of research. It wasn't luck. And I think sometimes we had a guest, I think it was Amanda Sibia, and she spoke about, she goes viral a lot with these like funny skits, and she talks a lot around entrepreneurship and branding. And she was talking about how like it's not luck. It's not like I just went viral. She strategically plans for it, and then it catches, and then it happens. So there was a lot of intentionality there, and I really, really love that. When you say that you showed up consistently, like how often were you posting?
In the very beginning, like Monday to Friday, I would make sure. There were days when like maybe I would have gotten caught up with other things. But like, and I see the sun going down, I'm like, I need to post. I would literally rush home to catch the sun so that I could film something that would go up. So like in the very beginning, I was posting like 5 times a week. But then even now, like at least three times a week, like I make sure that something goes up on my post, because I think a mistake that a lot of small businesses make, that they overlook the social media side of things. It's just making an afterthought, but like for me, that was like, it was my number one. It was a priority.
And the consistency of it also is like very important, and I think the algorithms on any social media platform rewards that consistency,
100%,
which is like important. So you post. Does one post go viral and brings in all the sale? What happens? Like, when does the business start booming?
A lot of posts start going viral, right?
At the same time.
At the same, like, not to say at the same time, but like they just start, And then what happens then is that people actually start buying. And because I do have a good product. Like the thing about, we don't just sell head wraps, but like we sell, one thing that I listened to what people needed, right? A lot of people love the idea of Itugu, but they'll tell you, it's so uncomfortable, or I have no idea how to even tie one. So I specifically created head wraps that firstly were very comfortable and convenient, very easy to wear. So every time someone would actually purchase from us, they would always come back, and they'd always tell someone about it. And people would even repost some of our stuff. So like it got to a point where like just the social media got people to take a chance on us, and the people who did just like fell in love with it, and like it just spiraled from there on.
Your story is so beautiful, and there's so many like nuggets I'd love us to even extrapolate from that on its own. That I mean, I know for myself, when I think about Idu, like it's just a cloth, and then I must figure out what to do.
Exactly.
And the reason why, in as much as we might love wearing dukes, is like I don't have the time to figure out what to do with it. And Mengi Bopa, I'm thinking I'm probably going to bed. And it must just be, And I think what you did, over and above giving people a product, but you gave people education on how to use the product.
Exactly.
And that is so important. And that's what a lot of entrepreneurs miss. It's like, my product is great, but show us how, and show us why it is great. And I've seen some of your posts where you're actually showing people how to style outfits with the head wraps. And when I saw that, I was like, I think I'm about to be a head wrap girl.
Listen.
I was like, I am definitely about to be this girl.
Definitely. There's something that like, I can't remember which book or where I learned it from, but like basically is that like, you first have to create a need for what it is you're selling. You don't just go selling something. You first have to sort of like, there's a cycle that you go through with your customer. And it's so beautiful because like your page gives you like the platform to do that. Absolutely. So like you first had to make people realize actually like, you need this. You didn't know you did, but you did, but and here's why. So like, if in case you thought Itugu was just for old women, or just to hide your hair, now you know you can look amazing in it, and here's how. And now you need the final piece, which is my product.
That's so beautiful. I love that. And the name of your company, you spoke a bit about reading entrepreneurship books and all of that. The name of your company is still Thema.
Yes.
Tell us a bit about that. That's very unique. Is that something so significant to you?
So okay, I knew from the beginning that I wanted Thema to mean something, right? For me, I associate a head wrap with confidence, right? And I associate it with a crown, because anything that goes in a woman's head is a crown, especially a confident woman. So I wanted the name to sort of like to amplify that, to have that significance in it. So I went on Google, then I searched up what is queen in an African language, because it had to be African.
Of course.
But I also didn't want it to be common, because it had to be mysterious. I love mystery. I feel like anything that's just like too obvious, it just doesn't have that thing, because my product had to be luxurious. So I wanted some mystery in it. So I found the name Tema. Tema is it's a Ghanaian word. It means queen. Ooh. But then I also felt like Tema was too common, because people in Ghana know what Tema means. And when my product gets to Ghana, I wanted to still be mysterious to them. Yes. So I added tall Tema, which will then mean tall queen. But then that was still too obvious, so we added a twang. And it became Tall Tema.
Interesting.
It now has a meaning, tall queen, because hijabs make you tall. Not tall in height, but tall in confidence. It makes you stand tall.
Oh, I love that. And you know what I also love about your product is that it's not only like the name is very significant to you, but the product in itself is great. I think for me, it's like, that's the best winning formula. It's like the product is amazing. So sales start coming in. Now you're in business, right? And as you get in business, you recently launched your own store. When did you know it was time to now get a physical store?
When we just could no longer work, because the sales was so much that I couldn't manage by myself. So I had to get a team. Right, and I was working with like 2-3 other people, and we were all in different locations. So it was, with the physical product, like you need coordination in order for things to like go smoothly, because a lot of areas were not happening. So I just wanted a place for me and my team to be able to work together, right, in order to fulfill all the orders in time and. But then I also realized that the product that I have, it's one that like people would love to feel and experience, because some people, and especially also because of like our target audience, like they want to try, they want to see. So I just thought that would also sort of like be a good opportunity to just have a place where people can come and experience them. So the store wasn't necessarily because we were trying to go physical. It was just because we needed it, like genuinely, like in order for the functionality of the business to keep going, like we needed a store. But then also it would have been so nice for you to come and touch and feel, which is exactly what the store is for.
I love that, because that's actually the reason why I asked you that question, is because I wanted us to get into experiential marketing. Because I saw from some of your videos, when people get into the store, they want to try, they want to see how they look, they want to see, will it fit in my head, if it's custom made, does it look, what color would look good on me, and these mirrors and etc. Has that increased sales for you?
100%. Every time someone, maybe even if they ordered online, right, when they come into the store, they're just like, they buy something else. They have to just get more. So like the sale definitely has increased sales, because I think also what it does is that it made us more credible, because online in South Africa, it's booming and people love it, but like people are not always so trusting. So someone will just like, I saw your page on TikTok, Mara, I had to come and see.
That's very true. Actually.
So for some people, they may be skeptical to buy online. So just us having a store, like, actually then allows them to just buy. And every single time someone comes in, they never just leave with just one. They just want to see everything, and they end up getting everything.
Which is really awesome. And what do you think has been your biggest challenge as the business has been growing?
I think like definitely like confidence. I feel like the market is now changing, in the sense that the barriers that were there before, like capital and all of those other things, are no longer as like daunting anymore, because we have so much access to knowledge. We have access to technology. You have the career services. Like, there's so much you can do with so little. So I would be lying if I said, my biggest challenge is capital, or my biggest challenge, honestly, like from the beginning and even as we started growing, is just like the confidence of just like putting myself out there and like actually, because I'm just a girl, and now I'm just a girl who has employees.
Like, listen, it just goes this way,
and like I actually have grown people who have to answer to me, and that is something that like as an entrepreneur, I always like say like entrepreneurship is like a self-development journey, because like it just pushes you so much. I'm constantly uncomfortable. I'm constantly feeling, what do they call it, imposter syndrome.
Yes. Yeah.
And sometimes it's crippling.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's really crippling. You feel cringe. I feel cringe all of the time.
Yeah.
I'm always feeling cringy. I'm always feeling
Yeah.
salesy. I'm always feeling like I'm doing too much. Like that is the biggest challenge, because I've had to deal with a lot of like the bells in my head to say no, like I'm good enough. No, I can do this. No, like there's no harm in trying it. And everything I'm doing, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm learning a lot, and I'm doing everything, and it's better now. Thank God I have a team. But like there's so many things that like I have no idea how to do, and I have to figure out how to do. And the challenge is just like risking failure every time, every day, because something breaks down, something new that I have to learn. I'm constantly cracking my head and just putting myself in uncomfortable situations. That is really the biggest challenge for me.
Yo, as you're saying, I was just reflecting so much on, I think, my own personal journey as well. It's like, it's actually interesting. You articulate, sometimes you feel something, you don't know how to articulate it until somebody else says it, and you're just like, that's actually what it is. Because what you're talking about is such a real issue. Like, it's so big. And I think that a lot of people don't start businesses because of the same fear. And I always say to people, you must realize that even after you've started, it's going to be there. It might even triple, because now there's so many things at stake. And now it's just like, shucks, this is a thing. And people expect me to have answers. And I don't have answers to myself. I'll share with you, I think I had a moment a few weeks ago that like, it felt so heavy in a good way, but like it just escalated my anxiety to the next level. So I went to church, right, on a Sunday, normal Sunday, and I was actually alone that day. I went to church alone. And as I'm walking out, somebody says, Michelle. And then I turned and I said, hi. And they introduced themselves, and I'm like, great, where do I know you from? And they said, well, I know you from YouTube. I said,
yay.
Thanks. Yay. Cool. And like 5 minutes later, as I'm walking out, somebody else does. I think there was like 4 different people. And when I got back in the car, I had a moment of like, okay,
you're actually like famous or something.
Like I was like, I did not realize
I know
I am creating something that lives in the world where people get to like recognize me and essentially will hold me accountable to the things that I share and potentially expect me to have answers. And some of those people that I met were just like, we love what you do. Please continue doing it. You're helping us. Da, da, da. And I think just the weight of the responsibility that day officially sunk in for me. And it has escalated not even in a bad way, but it's escalated the heaviness of the work that I do. Like we're in a studio right now and there could be like 5 of us, but this is going out to thousands of people. And just, I'm also just a little girl.
Listen, you're just a girl.
Just a girl, guys.
Yeah.
So it's so true what you're saying. And I want to use that point to just maybe encourage anybody that's watching. Like,
100%.
If you feel like you're anxious and you're struggling with self-confidence to start, there will never be, like, it will never go away for you to start. You just have to keep going. It's something you're going to have to work with and deal with because it's such a real thing. And my follow-up question to you is that, like, with that anxiety, and you spoke earlier about how it's such a it's like a personal development. It's school. It's like a personal development school you go to, and every morning you're like, what are we learning today? What are you doing to like equip and upskill yourself? Because I think this is only the beginning for you and your business.
100%.
I foresee a lot of scaling up that's going to happen. What are you doing to equip yourself and to keep yourself sane?
Read, okay?
Yeah.
There's one thing, and I shared this on my story one time. I was like, a book is like, like, I don't know. I cannot explain it. Like, I guess when I was young and, the grown-up people would say, go to school, go to school. And it's not necessarily about going to school, right? I think the beauty of, like, being an entrepreneur, right, is that, okay, if you're the right kind of entrepreneur, you then get to sort of like create your own syllabus, right? Nobody foretells you what to read and what not to read. So, but like when you give yourself like the actual time to educate yourself, so like one thing that like I know that I'm dedicating myself like to is like reading, and not just reading, but like reading and applying. Like right now I'm currently reading this book called The E-Myth. It's so amazing.
I've heard of it.
You need to read that.
Really?
Book. I swear you will not put it down.
Really?
But like it's books like that that make me realize, things that you struggle with that could have taken you years to figure out, that you probably wouldn't even figure. You'll be in your dead bed like before it actually clicks to you to like actually like this is the way to do it. Someone has already figured it out. Someone spent their whole life cracking their head, finding what works and what doesn't work, and they put it together, and they wrote a book. And there's so much value in that. Like you can save yourself so much heartache. You could go so far. Like, listen, the wisdom of just 5 good books is like more than what you could have like accumulated if you just tried to figure things out yourself. So I definitely I'm going to study. Like I'm gonna study. I want to dedicate time to actually read, to really, really read and apply. And I'm not in the game of learning through my own mistakes.
You don't want to pay your own school fees.
I'm so willing to just sit down and like listen to other people who've done it. So I'm going to be taking courses. I'm going to be reading. I'm going to figure out every little thing, systems, and even just how to lead. I'm reading a book on that. Like even just how to, show up better. Because like in my business, I don't think my role is necessarily to like work in the business. I want to work on the business. I just want to be the key person of influence in the business, the one that shines the light,
the visionary.
Exactly. And that requires me to like show up and like as a certain type of person. And I'm educating myself in that.
Oh, I love that. My heart got so excited when you spoke about reading because I'm a believer of books, man. I've always been a believer of books. I always say that a book is like getting into someone's mind you'd never meet at all. It's like literally extrapolating this person's finest ideas without me having to meet them. I'll tell you something, and I think also for the viewers and the listeners, I recently I'm rereading a book. I'm actually almost done. Called it's Day Trading Attention by Gary Vee. His latest book. I love Gary Vee so much. And I'm reading this book for the second time. When I read it for the first time, he basically speaks about social media and how to integrate social media in your business with the new algorithms and all of that. Great book.
I think that's going to be my next read, please.
Amazing. I even did a review on it on my TikTok.
Ooh,
it's a beautiful book. And then I literally took what he shared, right? Put together a strategy for my LinkedIn. I'm telling you right now, I'm sitting on 2 speaking engagements from my LinkedIn using that strategy. My community is growing. There's so much recognition. I think I have a radio interview in the pipeline as well. Literally, and this is less than a month of me just applying that. I would not have thought about like using LinkedIn as a social media platform. For me, it was just like, okay, cool, I'll post here and there. And then I got the strategy from there.
Oh my God.
And now it's like, okay, a whole new world. Now, if I did not read that book,
you would have never known. You'd have never known.
Yeah, 100%. I would have just sat there like feeling like I'll figure it out, but getting so anxious about eventually getting to a point where I figure it out. Whereas you buy a book for like 500 and something rand, and then look at the amount of money you then make from it. It's an investment.
Because the most expensive thing is ignorance, like not knowing. The things you don't know are costing you so much. No, I 100% agree.
Yeah.
And I'm excited now because I'm definitely reading that book.
No, you will not put it down. You will not put it down. I initially read it first as an audiobook. I listened to it in 2 days. I was like, I couldn't put it down at all. And then my husband got me the actual copy. It's like, if you see it now, there's notes everywhere. I'm like writing, because that's how I read. Like I write and like scribble and all of that stuff. And it's just such a great book if you're trying to like integrate your business in social media, but like in such a great way across the different platforms. It's like, oh my God, amazing, amazing, amazing. So I love when you talk about, reading. I think that's very, very important. You touched on leadership. which is a big conversation we've been having with a lot of people that we invite to the podcast, because it's tricky.
So tricky.
And I think as a young female, chances are you're going to find yourself employing people who are much older than you,
Obviously.
who probably have been more in the workplace years before you. How are you coping first with the leadership aspect of the business, and what do you see, or what's your current biggest challenge within your leadership role as the visionary of the business?
I guess just like communicating the vision and getting other people to be just as excited about it, because I understand what Dolthema is.
Yes.
I see it for what it is, which is huge, bigger than what it is right now, right? And the biggest challenge is now communicating this beautiful, big, brilliant, I want people to come into work and feel like they see that this is bigger than what I'm doing. Like, I want you to feel like, you're part of something bigger than, don't just come and just, for the sake of it.
Yeah.
So I think the biggest challenge is like getting people to be just as excited and see it as important to understand the why behind it, and just like communicating the vision. That's been hard, because I think a lot of people are in a state of just like hopelessness. A job. That's where most people are. You just want to come to work and then go home. That's it. Like, that drive is not there. That vision is not there. So I'm just at a point right now where I'm trying to figure out, like, how do I get you to see what I'm seeing? How do I get you to be excited about what I'm seeing, so that you can also tomorrow come back and say, like, actually, I was even thinking, like, if we did this, to get people who are actually like working towards the same thing that you're working towards, and not just trying to make ends meet,
That's so interesting. And when I think about it, we had an interview with Nomdeni quite a few weeks ago, and she shared something so powerful. But before I kind of like build on that, I want to say, sometimes what I notice is that the younger we are, right, when we employ people, especially you've got an enterprise and you're employing people who are much older than you, there is an element of people getting an inferiority complex by virtue of working for you, and I think maybe it gets them to reflect around, like, she's so young and she's doing so well, and I am this age and I haven't been able to do this. And then that creates a sort of a barrier in terms of them being able to not necessarily be submissive, but to be submissive to be led, and I've noticed that whenever we've hired people, it's like then that becomes such a big barrier, and so they now no longer get excited for the company, but maybe they feel more challenged to feel like, okay, maybe I need to do more for myself, and because there's a comparison thing going on. That's the first one. And then the second one, and I'm just like throwing these out in the air because it's also things that I'm also struggling with. It's like Nomdeni was talking about how it's more advisable to not worry about people being excited about our vision, but to look for people who are excited about their role in the vision. So it's like, if you are getting, like, I'll tell you, for instance, we have she's a virtual assistant, but like I always say, like, she's like my assistant, right? I know for sure that Steph is passionate about being an assistant. Steph is passionate about admin. Whether I'm on CNN, whether I'm on Forbes, it doesn't matter what I'm doing. Steph will be passionate about her role with what she does, because that's what she does best. Now, I have had to set myself free from trying to like make Steph see the vision and like, this is where we're going. It's like, oh my God, she will see it. Sometimes she'll be busy with other things, but what I'm confident in is that when it comes to admin, she's got it figured out. And Nomdeni was basically saying, like, if you, let's say for instance, get a graphic designer, you employ a graphic designer depending on the business that you are in, just make sure you have a graphic designer who's obsessed with graphics. That's it.
That's beautiful.
Because only when they do that, they will serve you to the best of their ability within their expertise. Because, and I think my expectation also when I started my entrepreneurship journey was I was expecting my staff to have entrepreneurial mindsets. And it's like,
they don't.
No, not everybody's going to think like me. Not everybody's going to think like, what does the next 3 months look like? What does so I'm just sharing that, I think, to everybody that's listening, and maybe to you if it helps in any way, that I think sometimes it's like, let's just find people who are passionate about their roles.
Yeah.
And it's like, cool, maybe they are passionate and they need upskilling. How do we help them be best at their roles? And then we keep, the visionary aspects of things. But I know that as a young woman, it's so tricky. It's like boundaries. Like, how do you create boundaries?
At work.
Yeah.
You're asking the wrong person.
It's like, girl, I'm trying.
I have no idea. In fact, like, I want to know.
Yeah.
You tell me.
It's so hectic.
I am ready to learn.
No, I can tell you that for sure.
Listen, how do you create boundaries?
Yeah. I'm
'Cause
learning.
I'm also still learning, and I feel like that's like so important.
Yeah.
We need to talk about it more.
Yeah.
Because it's genuinely so important, and it gets so tricky.
Yeah.
Especially, like you said, you're young.
Yes. Yeah. It's like, I'm really learning because I think we usually can be identified and easily become nurturers as women, right?
So
and it's like, how far do I nurture something?
Yeah.
Like somebody will give you an excuse like about stuff not being done, and you're like, cool, okay, cool, maybe this is like so real. This like, when do we get to a point where it's like,
No.
okay,
Yeah.
no,
I'm standing my ground.
yeah. So I think it's definitely learning, but I can tell you maybe what I'm noticing now within my journey is like, the higher we go, the more I'm being forced to have boundaries.
Yeah.
Because like, I can't risk it anymore.
True.
Like, it's
So
not,
true.
there's so much to lose with not having a boundary than there is. Like, before it's like, oh, if somebody arrives late all the time, it's like, it's fine, whatever.
Yeah.
But now it's like, no, we have an 8:00 meeting with a client.
Exactly.
Now we're going to look, unprofessional. Then there's so much to lose. So now it's like, so I think you learn with time goes. And also it's like, there's a lot of character development, because then you get to see yourself. Like, why are you struggling to set boundaries? Like, where? Who hurt you?
Like, why are you trying to please the person you hired? You're begging them to do their job.
Exactly. Yeah. Are you a people pleaser?
Yeah, no, like, I definitely get that. I definitely get that. And one thing that I have been trying, what I am implementing right now, is I will bring up your contract so many times, and it's just like so clear now. Like, I can talk to you like it's on paper.
Yes.
I put it on paper. So I put things on paper.
Yes.
And I will remind you. And it like, and it's funny because I work with family members sometimes. Like, I told my cousin, like, I will fire you. After I fire you, I will invite you over to dinner and console you about losing your job because we're family.
Yeah, shucks.
So, like, I think, like, one thing that's really helped me, I guess, with boundaries is, like, putting them on paper and contractualizing them.
Yes.
And, like, making it clear that, like, I am sticking to the contract.
Yes.
I don't know about you, but, like...
Yeah. So it's like, if you ever had to fire them or like give them a warning, it would be contractual. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. Oh, interesting. Okay. What have you seen as your biggest strength?
Ooh, I am so good at being cringe.
What do you mean?
Like, I think my biggest strength is that, like, I'm willing to embarrass myself. Like,
Love
I'm willing to try something new. You mentioned the other time, you're like, oh, you just started a podcast, and I'm like, because that's still like something that's very cringe to me.
Yeah.
So like, I'm so willing to like put myself out there and try something and just be embarrassed while doing it.
Yeah.
I think that's my biggest strength, because like, there's so many things that like I have risked. Yeah, like, I no longer care about how I look or how people see me. Like, I'm willing to be embarrassed.
Yeah.
In order to try something.
I love that so much, because doesn't the Bible say that we must be as a childlike?
Listen.
Like, kids don't care.
Yeah.
Kids will like sing lyrics wrong. They will do whatever they want. And I think that's such an important tool. Like, just like, don't be afraid to be embarrassed.
Exactly.
Oh, that is so good. That is so good. That podcast is going to come together, by the way.
Nah.
Yeah.
Amen.
It's good. It's going to come together. I believe it's going to come together. That is so awesome. And then, so I know, obviously running an online business, is very different to like running now an online business and a store.
Yeah.
Now there's like two different things. I always say to people, every time you scale up your business, it feels like you have a new business now. entirely.
Completely.
It's like it feels like you're starting over, but at a higher level, and it can be more stressful. There's like because now there's people involved, there's systems, there's processes, and I wonder what has been your biggest lesson in terms of the transition when you're moving from just like it being an online, it being a you business, and now becoming an entire organization with a culture and people.
The importance of systems, like I think ever since like I opened the store, right, and I hired people, I now pay so much attention when I'm like at a retail store, right? And I feel it so differently when someone says, oh, like we're not allowed to do this. I'm like, oh, why? Because now I know that your boss set up that system for some reason. So I now see that like actually there's like it's so important to have systems. Like just don't leave anything to chance. Like don't let anyone have to now use their intuition to have to do even the simplest things. Make it a system. Like put it on paper and make sure that it's done like the exact same way every single time. Because no matter how small it might be, it causes such a ripple effect in the end. So like I've learned the importance of systems, and like I see them everywhere now. Like every like anytime I walk into a place, I'm like everything I'm seeing, I'm just like that's a system. They're implementing a system right there. Like and I'm figuring out why and how are they making it, how is it efficient, and I'm trying to figure out, okay, I should probably do that with the thank you cards we write. Like
constantly improving and growing. And I think to your point, systems are so important to everything. And I think when we talk about systems, so maybe give us an example. When we talk about systems, what are you, maybe give us like two things, because I think sometimes when we talk about systems, people think like we're saying like a CRM, we're talking like hectic things, and people get very overwhelmed.
Not even. I think for me, in my own understanding, a system is like it's a way of doing something, right? It's a way that is like it's manageable, right? And it's you're able to chase it and to see it. Like for example, right? We write thank you cards to every single person who buys from us, right? Because I feel like that's so important. For me, it's a big deal. Like when I buy something and there's a little handwritten note, it gives me joy. So I want to make sure that we give that. So we have a system where like, okay, we write all the thank you cards and we obviously have to put the name of the person and stuff. But then if something, let's say, goes wrong and we have to change the thank you card. So like now it's not just a thank you card anymore. There has to be a thank you card specifically for new customers. It's a thank you card specifically for returning customers. And then it's a thank you card for a customer who had an error on their previous order, right? So instead of just now letting the person that writes the thank you card to just think of a new thing to say every single time or to have to decide for themselves, should I write an apology list to this person or not? Like there's a system. You know exactly, okay, this is what you say, this is what you write every single time to this type of client, and when this specific thing happens, then you change the thank you card. So it's nothing hectic, it's just that you don't have to think. This is how it's done and this is how you do it every single time. So like it's everywhere. I think like also in the fact that when you walk out of ShopRite, someone looks at your receipt and they tick it off. That's a system because it's done every single time exactly the same way. They don't have to ask, am I checking your receipt? Am I not checking your receipt? Right? No one decides. In that moment, they know. So I think that is exactly what a system is.
Thank you for sharing that. It's powerful when we clarify things. And even as you're talking, I'm thinking to myself, we all have systems.
Definitely.
We all have systems. Like even if people acknowledge it or not, we all have systems around when you wake up in the morning, you do the same thing every day.
True.
When you get in the house, or even when you like drive in, you do the same thing every day. From how you cook. Do you cook and wash dishes? Do you cook and then wash dishes? Like how you move around in your kitchen when you're cooking is a system on its own. So it's basically being able to kind of have a way of doing things. And I think to your point, which is something that's so important, is that if Michelle no longer works for you anymore, when Tembi comes tomorrow, Tembi knows what to do. So everything is not left into Michelle's brain. And that's the problem when there isn't any systems in the company.
You become so vulnerable to people, because if Usman Bani leaves you, everything falls apart.
Because now you don't know what to like, where was it? And that's where like CRMs and all those things get into place. But that was very, very, very beautifully explained. Very beautifully explained. Okay, my last question to you. What advice would you give to people who are wanting to start their businesses?
Just start. Stop waiting.
You know, we say that so often. It's like
I wish I had something better to say. Like, it's hard. It won't stop being hard.
Yeah.
Like if you're waiting, I don't know what I was waiting for at the time. What was I waiting for? I was waiting for time. Never found the time.
Yeah.
Just start.
Yeah.
Waiting for money. It might never come. In fact, the only time the money will actually come is when people see that you're doing something. So you have to actually start. So I say just start, like exactly where you are with the little that you have. Do something. It doesn't have to be this big scale. I remember, like, before I started my business, I had this long list of everything that I needed to learn and everything that I needed. I had none of that when I started. Like, I think I remember I had like less than 5% of what was in that very long list. But then I just told myself, like, you know what, like, we'll figure things out as we go. And like I did.
Yes.
So I think like that's exactly what you do. Like, all you need is just a little idea. In fact, even if it's not a great idea, if you start, you'll figure out that it's not a good idea and you'll tweak it and it'll become a good idea. So just start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tamia Mokoena, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having
So such a
me.
beautiful conversation.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't want to leave.
Oh, me too. And our editors like standing there like, okay, girls, TikTok.
We're wrapping up. Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you for tuning in. I think you shared such amazing nuggets, and we wish you all the beautiful success in the world.
Thank you so much.
We cannot wait to see what you're going to do forward. I think there's so much potential for growth for your business.
Amen. I believe it. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you. We'll have you again. We always say that everybody that comes onto the Resonate podcast has to come again.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
Thank
you so much.
Thank you.
Resonate community, there you have it for today's episode. Absolutely amazing. Just a beautiful story of resilience and starting despite the fear and the business growing and doing so well. And I believe that if Tamia could do it, so can you. So if you're watching this right now and you've been planning to start something, wanting to do something, this is your sign to do it. The Lord right now is speaking to you saying, go and start and do it and make that money and start building with whatever it is that you have at your disposal right now. You don't have to wait for the fancy things. Like she said, just go and do it. As always, we love you guys so much and we'll see you guys on our next podcast episode. Goodbye.